About 6:30?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to go ahead and convene this special meeting to discuss the Bear Creek wastewater workshop, which we'll have later. Could you do a roll call, Lane? Thank you.
President Russ,
Here.
Vice President Lane's remote.
Yep. Here.
Thank you. Director Larday,
Here.
Director Smalley,
Here.
and Director Holt.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. I did want to welcome everybody, directors, staff, and ratepayers of the district. Taking time out during an evening is always hard. So thank you very much for coming. I guess to follow are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
No. And any oral communications that don't have to do with our topic today that people would like to address to the district? Okay. And none remotely? No. Okay. There being none, I don't believe there's any unfinished business. So we're going to jump right into it. And I believe Jesse is queued up.
Jesse's going to lead this.
All right. You're on the hot seat.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Jesse.
Well, first off, thank you guys for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Joining us today is Harry, the owner and CEO of Essential Operations.
Hey, guys.
I'm going to give a presentation and then we can open up to discussion. All right. Bear Creek Estates wastewater treatment facility is currently experiencing both operational and regulatory compliance challenges. Most notably, the district's ongoing inability to meet the 50% total nitrogen reduction requirement mandated by the California Regional Water Quality Control Board. The primary purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the potential of the district entering into a 2-year contract with Essential Operations to serve as a professional on-site consultant for the Bear Creek Estates wastewater system. The cost of this contract is not to exceed $50,180 for the first year and $27,080 for the second year. Following this discussion, we would also like to discuss the possibility of replacing the Bear Creek Estates generator. District staff believes that bringing Essential Operations on board would be a prudent and effective use of funds to address the system's challenges. This includes not only meeting regulatory requirements, but also ensuring that operational and financial health of the system is sustainable for years to come. Recommendation of this contract is based on Essential Operations' expertise in small wastewater systems and their long-term comprehensive assessment strategy. Although staff is eager to move forward with Essential Operations, we're also very aware and sensitive to the long and challenging history of the system. This includes previous efforts made and funds invested in an attempt to solve the system's deficiencies. The district assumed responsibility for the Bear Creek Estates wastewater system in 1967. Shortly thereafter,
Speak louder, please. I can't hear.
yeah, no problem. The district assumed responsibility for, is that better? Can you hear a little better? Okay, good. The district assumed responsibility for the Bear Creek Estates wastewater system in 1967. Shortly thereafter,
Jesse.
Since '85, right? 67 was
Oh,
when we had our first sewer system.
I thought you couldn't hear him.
No, I was just trying to correct.
yeah, no, it was 85.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. When the treatment plant was constructed in 1985. That's correct. Yeah.
That's when Bear Creek, that's when. Are you talking about Bear Creek taking responsibility or?
The San Jose Valley Water District took responsibility of operating the treatment facility, or wasn't even a treatment facility, the disposal of the treatment at the time in 1967.
Really?
All right. Let's just, as a matter of flow, let Jesse
That's
get
fine.
through the presentation. No, that's great, but
Yeah, no, we can open
we
up.
have lots of time. Okay, thank you.
All right. Shortly thereafter, and throughout the 1970s, environmental regulations increased significantly. This included making it illegal to discharge pollutants into waterways, increased standards and treatment methods, and shifted enforcement from local discretion to federal and state oversight. Due Due to these regulatory changes and the system's outdated disposal method, the district was required to construct the current wastewater treatment facility. This facility was completed in 1985 at a cost of approximately $1 million, with roughly 90% funded through state and federal grants and the remaining 10% funded by Bear Creek Estates ratepayers. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, state regulatory requirements again increased substantially, including an increase in total nitrogen removal. Due to the increase in regulations, the treatment facility no longer met state standards. In response, the district hired Fall Creek Engineering in 2002 to develop modifications to the existing treatment plant. The first phase of these modifications, including the installation of 2 Aranco trickling filters, which were placed into service in 2005. These modifications did not achieve the required nitrogen reduction. As a result, a third Aranco filter was later installed to increase recirculation. Ultimately, however, these improvements failed to meet the regulatory requirements. The total cost of this project was approximately $230,000 and was funded by the Bear Creek Estates ratepayers through a 10-year interfund loan facilitated by the district. Between 2010 and 2020, several additional engineering assessments were completed. These assessments generally recommended increasing recirculation, including the installation of air blowers. Over that period, the district installed multiple blowers and made several modifications to their operations. While these changes initially showed some improvement, they ultimately failed to achieve compliance with state and federal regulations. The total cost of these assessments and modification is estimated at approximately $140,000 and was funded by the Bear Creek Estates ratepayers. In 2020, the district published the Bear Creek Estates Alternatives Memorandum. This document compiled past engineering assessments and evaluated a wide range of treatment technologies and facility upgrades, along with their associated costs. The most cost-effective recommendation identified was to modify the existing Aranco filter and blower system. The district attempted these modifications, but once again, regulatory requirements were not met. These efforts cost an estimated $10,000 to $15,000 and were funded by the Bear Creek Estates ratepayers. As mentioned previously, the system continues to face several challenges, including maintaining compliance with regulatory requirements and ensuring operational sustainability. District staff has been unable to pinpoint the exact reason past engineering assessments and modifications have failed. However, we believe there are important lessons to be learned from these efforts. One key lesson is that a full, comprehensive assessment by an expert in this field is necessary before committing any more additional funds to capital improvements.
Do you have that number as a whole number, those 4 amounts that were on the Bear Creek estate payers?
I don't have a whole number on here right now, but
Okay,
we
we'll
can
break
follow up
those
on
down then again so they can look at that.
yeah, I can follow up with this.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah.
Maybe about close to $500,000.
That's what I'm coming up with also. Yeah.
Next
That's
slide.
about 475.
Next slide. Next. Slide. The next slide? Yeah, slide number 12.
No, 12.
Sorry about it. All right, thank you. Very patient, huh?
No, there are some more pages in the PowerPoint that was sent out.
Yes.
There's 4 more.
Hey. All right,
Okay.
circling back. What Essential Operations has proposed. This is why staff believes Essential Operations hand-on multi-year approach is appropriate. Their ability to work directly with the existing infrastructure, make incremental adjustments, and monitor system performance over an extended period of time is critical. This strategy should help us determine which investments will be most effective moving forward. Next slide, please. In addition, Essential Operations will provide training to current district staff and assist in developing maintenance and operational programs tailored to the system needs, something previous consultants could not deliver. This training is key to ensuring the system is properly operated and maintained once Essential Operations contract expires. In conclusion, staff believes that Essential Operations will provide us with the best opportunity in meeting our goals of regulatory compliance and long-term stability. That's all I have.
That's it. Okay. All right, we'll maybe start with questions from directors, and then we'll open it up to the public. Brian, you mind leading off with any questions you might have?
So I have a variety of questions, and I think I'll introduce a couple of them now, and then maybe circle back later on,
Okay.
given the workshop format nature of what we hope to accomplish today, if that sounds okay. So one is just really quite particular, and I'm sorry for this. It sounds like the underlying problem is that ammonia or ammonium is generated in the system, and the goal is to convert that to nitrate and then strip the nitrate using denitrification. And that the problem seems to be getting the ammonium turned into nitrate. That's just what I'm reading through the tea leaves of the kinds of the trickling filters and stuff that were put in there. Is that what the problem is, or do we know what the problem is? Why it's not working so great?
You described the basic chemistry of what should take place. And so there's a lot of elements that go into getting that chemistry, biology to work. And so it could be that the recirculation ball valve that's in there isn't at the right setting, or the floats that you want to have like a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, depending on how much nutrients are coming into the system, and then monitor that, understand it, so that you can set the recirculation. Or I was looking at this, and I think possibly that the recirculation is at the wrong spot. It should be at the beginning of the system rather than in tank 2, it's in tank 1. And so we're not getting that denitrification process through the primary tank. So that not having, I've gone to see the system twice. Once when I was fixing the lift station and the guys took me up and showed me. Another time I went, just poked around and looked at some stuff. And really to get a true understanding of the system, I didn't see any of this documentation prior to making my submittal as to this, and it lines up with a lot of your past consultants of what they recommended needs to be done, which I was like, hey, looks like, you know, we're thinking along the same lines. It needs to be operated properly. It needs to be looked at, it needs to be understood. I use the term, need to understand how the system breathes. And through the seasons, especially since it has all the I&I that comes into it during the winter.
I&I?
I'm sorry, rain intrusion. So that is a big factor, and you're probably missing it all the during the winter times. There's also another good possibility that there's just not enough carbon going through your system. And again, I haven't dove deeply into all of the sample results and looked at them, and also I haven't picked apart where the dissolved oxygen and all the different things within the treatment train are. And that's why I made the suggestion about how we should go about this. I just stumbled upon this whenever I was fixing the lift station. I said, hey guys, show me your wastewater plant. And they said, hey, yeah, we need some help. And so then came up, made the proposal, and started getting input about some of the other past consultants. I'm like, some of this makes sense, some of it, they're way off. They're just missed the mark, don't understand them. If you don't mind, I'll take a quick minute. I worked for the company that designed this system, Fall Creek Engineering. I used to go out and build these systems for them, and I would go back to the engineers and say, hey, this works, this doesn't work, we need to increase this or change this. and modify the systems until we got a good working system. This is probably one of the earliest iterations of the trickling filter system. We currently manage probably 4 trickling filter systems in the local county area or Monterey, stuff like that. But it just needs some TLC with an eye on it that knows what, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then we should do this, or we can try this. And there's a lot of very economical approaches to move the system towards compliance. Also, with this time frame that we're working within, I felt pretty good about it because it allows us to watch the system work, get it to perform as you described, and getting that process to work right, and understanding it. And really, we need to have a lot more snapshots of what the chemistry is of the system, how the INI affects it. And it's, I look at it and it's very possible to get this to work. Okay. And there's a very good chance that we can go through this and we can maximize it, and we can do everything needed to maximize the treatment, and we still may fall short. But then I do know also, along with my engineer friends, very simple things and most economical things that we can do to bring it in line. There's a lot of really good systems out on the market that already exist, that are prepackaged systems, and we operate most of those systems already. I can tell you the ins and outs of them. We've reconditioned several commercial systems to get them to meet state standards. And we have one at a Pescadero area that's a tertiary treatment, brings it up to the standard for irrigation. And it took us about a year to really get that thing working right again. And it's a process. You just can't do it overnight. You can't turn on a switch or a light switch to make it happen. So what you described, though, is correct. We need to get to that point where it is doing that. It just depends on what elements are we missing, or we have too much of this, not enough of that, and to make it work right.
Thank you. That's a very helpful explanation.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just tell you where I'm coming
Okay.
from, and as we go through this evening's conversation, just keep those things in mind and add input that might help me understand things a little bit
Okay.
better. It would seem that the system is monitored regularly, and I guess here's just one other question. Does it ever meet standard? Like, have any of the samples?
Rarely it does, yes.
So every once in a while, there's an inflow and an outflow
Yes.
but most of the time,
Mhm.
some majority of the time, it does not.
It's usually 0 to 20% removed.
Okay, yeah, and we need to get to 50% to comply with our current regulatory obligation. And then maybe I'll just share with you my concern. So the San Lorenzo River is considered impaired for nutrients by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And through their regulatory process, which has a lame name, TMDL, my understanding is that we have until 2032 for full implementation of the San Lorenzo River TMDL, at which time it is possible that we may be required to achieve a 10 milligram per liter nitrogen effluent. That's what I'm concerned about, and that the over time water quality standards will become tighter.
I agree.
And so normally wastewater flows at 60, and maybe so our goal might now be to cut it to 30. That would be great. But if in 7 years we're going to have to go to 10, that might be hard. And I don't know how the current system if it could handle that, or there's something that can be just added on in the chain of reactors that deals with it. But I'm a little worried about diving into a process that's going to look at everything once a week for a year and a half, strive to get to this 50% reduction, maybe not succeed. And then what? Are we really going to be positioned to solve the problem in the long run? And related to that, I kind of wonder whether existing data and all of the information that's been gathered so far, normally what a technical team might do is, before spending a lot of time in the field, which is really time consuming, they might gather all of that information, crunch the numbers, develop a report, see if there's some correlation or statistical relationship between rain and performance or other things, temperature, I don't know what, and try to at least get an educated guess as to why it's not working. And I'm a little curious why we wouldn't start with something like that and instead would just start with tinkering. It sounds like maybe tinkering is the way a lot of this stuff gets solved, because the data is really noisy, and I'm open to that as an option. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from, and I would love to hear more either now or in response to the
One of the first things I would like to do if this goes through is to gather all that data, crunch that data, put the data together in such a way that I can see it, understand it. And I know there's going to be seasonal fluctuations here. And from that, though, there's a lot of benchtop sampling that we can do in the field that is accurate as we need, but not as costly as sending it to the lab. But continue to do very specific lab sampling throughout the system, and to really understand the system of where you want to take those. I have a very good idea of where I'd like to start taking samples from, but you need to get boots on the ground to get in there. I read through all of the different documents that were sent me about the different assessments, and they just miss here and there a little bit and don't understand the system as well as they should have. They put it through some kind of algorithms that showed them that it couldn't do it, but I've seen these systems do it. I've seen these systems reduce it by 50%. I've seen them get it below 30 milligrams per liter. So in 2032, going through this process, we'll have an idea, if we're not making those strides that we need to make, what are the best options available on the market, or that we can customize to this system that would get us there. I don't want to leave it with, oh, this is good enough. That would drive me crazy. It's going to be, here's our goal. What do we need to do to accomplish that? And then keep the board and the constituents informed about the process, the progress, and how far we can push this system to accomplish what it needs to do. Okay.
Thank you.
Good for now. All right. Well, we're gonna go through the directors, and then we'd love to. Can you hold?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is our normal process. I apologize. Alina, if you've got any questions for staff here regarding?
Yeah, I do. Let me try to get my camera back on. So this actually came to the environmental committee, and so we talked about it a bit there. And in there, they talked about that they had an EPA technical assistance that was going to be coming out, and they actually had their own private contractor as well. Like, what became of all of that?
Are you referring to RCAC? Possible grant?
I went back and I pulled my notes, and I just, how it was presented from Chris. All I wrote down was that the EPA had a free service to come out and take a look at it.
I think that's referring to possible grant funding from RCAC, but I would have to follow up with Chris on that.
Okay. Yeah, my understanding was that they were going to come out and actually have a look at the system and give some sort of opinion on the matter is but okay. I guess my other kind of thing going back to what got brought up in the environmental committee is we also talked a lot about that rain intrusion and that, you know, there's a really saturated leach field there. And we're right next to the river there, so I'm not wondering if like the water table is just really high and, you know, this system is really outdated already. And I guess my question is this even a suitable site to try to re-engineer this system?
One of my, just to approach the disposal field area, looking at the permit, the discharge order, in my experience, I've found that most disposal fields aren't managed properly and aren't looked at as closely as they should be looked at and managed as well as they should be managed. Is probably the one big expense area that is really not, I mean, all the reports that I read are assuming that the disposal field is working properly. And I can say most likely there's areas within the disposal field that need to be probably managed better. And there's still no guarantee that we're going to manage that disposal field to the level that it needs to be managed to do what needs to be done. There's ways to other application ways to apply the water to the field that can reduce the oversaturation in different ways and manage differently. But at this time, until we really, again, dig into it, go out and do the inspections, look at the monitoring wells, look at the saturation, not going to be able to give you a clear-cut answer on that. And it hasn't really been investigated well based on the material that I was given to read and review. So yes, it should be a concern.
Okay. And then I just wanted to clarify one thing because I saw it in my notes. I had my notes from the environmental committee that in 2013 it was meeting requirements. Is that correct? And then it stopped?
There was times where it did meet requirements, but looking back on all the past sampling results, that's not correct.
Okay. And then I guess just my final question for now. Is this something that we need to go out for bid for since, or is it the dollar amount not enough? We can just pick a contractor?
It was staff's opinion that this is sole provider based on Terry's expertise in this field.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Bob, would you like to take the floor?
You know, I don't have a lot of questions, but I do have a couple observations about this because the sense that I have, and this is not based on any expertise, but the system is likely to need either serious upgrades at some point or a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
The study that was done in 2020 did not cover all of the possible solutions that are on the market today. They only covered the ones that the county deemed acceptable. That is a big problem because the solution that they came up with, other than the quick fix, is completely unaffordable for any community the size of Bear Creek Estates. It simply cannot be done without massive grant funding. And the concern that I would have, of course, is the socioeconomic demographics of our area don't lend itself to getting a lot of really good grant funding, sometimes not even good loans. So I'm hoping at some point in this process, we actually do a study of all of the solutions that are on the market today. Forget what the county says is acceptable. Look at all of them and figure out if there's anything in there that is affordable for the community to have. And if it's not on the county's acceptable list, then that's a political process. Put it on the list. Because of course the county is here to help us, right? They certainly are helping a lot of people from the CZU fire, and I would like to see if they could help us here too with the Bear Creek Estate. So I don't know if that's in scope or can be added to scope or is a separate project or what have you, but what triggered it was Terry's reference to looking at market solutions that are available. Well,
Or additions.
or additions or whatever, but my sense here is that there's probably a need of serious upgrades to the system, if nothing else, the piping infrastructure. If it's got that much intrusion, there might be areas that we have to look at piping as well. And so I don't know if you do leak detection processes on sewer pipes, but that might be another, not leaking so much as intrusion, but that might be something that we need to add to the list as well. Because if we're processing a lot more water than is actually coming out of the homes, that's just going to make things a lot more challenging as well. And is also going to saturate the leach field faster by doing that. So those are concerns that I have in addition to the budget issues. Is this money actually in the budget? And is it going, that is the current rates that the community is paying? Does this offset any of our costs at all? That is, does the work that Terry proposes to do mean a reduction of some amount in our staff time and charges? I'd like to get a better handle on the financials before proceeding with anything being proposed tonight.
Well, currently there's a surplus of around $150,000. The budget, based on the budget, there is going to be a surplus in revenue for the next 2 years of around $100,000 to $120,000. So that surplus in revenue should cover Terry's cost for Terry's contract.
You're talking about the district as a whole?
No, the wastewater fund.
Just the wastewater.
Separate funds, but part of my understanding on that was that money was being set aside for potential capital improvements, not operating improvements. We get, we have this thing in our district where we raise rates saying we're going to do it for capital, but then we use it for operating. So I would think I need to go back and take a look at the marketing material that was presented to the Bear Creek Estates around the last rate increase to see what kind of promises that we made we were going to be doing with that money. I'm, in the water area, we say one thing and we typically wind up spending the bulk of the money on just operating, even though the marketing material says capital infrastructure. So I'm concerned about that. We'll see where the conversation goes.
This is the beginning, right?
And I certainly want to hear from the community for sure.
A remark?
One of the questions that Director Foltz asked is similar to what I had, and it's is there offsetting costs? The district is spending staff time now to operate the system. Is essential operations work offsetting that, or is it in addition to our staff?
It is in addition to
Okay.
current operations for staff would remain the same.
Okay, all right. Jesse, you mentioned that some of the times during that the system meets. Do you have a sense for what time of the year that it meets? Is it during the dry months?
Typically they were during the dry months. However, I did find a few results in the winter time where the nitrogen level dropped off a cliff, and I may be able to correlate that to times where we pumped out the tanks and then it was sampled shortly after. So that was something I was going to discuss with Terry.
Okay.
If we move forward, I was, this time researching this, I was able to start correlating some of that data.
Okay.
Some stuff we did.
Sorry, pumped out the septic tank,
Yeah.
like you would do in your house,
Thanks.
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to see better production, better treatment during the hotter months of the year, where the bacteria and everything grow better. They're not being hit by the cold or washed out by the intrusion. And then also right after a pumping, you're reducing the nitrogen load within the system itself.
And it's the stormwater intrusion that Is that a significant part of
Yes.
in
Long
particular,
term.
the winter time
Yes.
problems? And to Director Foltz's point, well, do we go the slip line? The
Those sections of it, depending on where the intrusion is coming in.
right.
So you can do smoke tests and you can do camera work and determine where your intrusion is coming from.
It does.
To then possibly either replace or line the pipes to
Right.
prevent the intrusion coming in. Yeah.
There's
Okay. So that could be something.
Mhm.
Do you have a sense that we have sufficient data on the system? And we're just not, staff is not expert. They're collecting it, but they don't really know what that means. Or are we collecting data to meet regulatory requirements? And that's the data we collect. But the bench sampling that you're proposing is beyond and outside of that regular. So what's your sense of data collection, further data needed that would help you answer that?
So most likely you're only collecting the data that the state's requiring that you report upon.
That's correct.
And you're not collecting data that is looking at operational process or procedure or process sampling.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm recommending to do. And there will, I don't know it at this time, what additional selection or areas of additional sampling we would want or suggest or work out with
That's understandable since you haven't done a detailed look at the system.
it's needed. But
But you
what it
can
is, I
anticipate.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not asking what specific, but you anticipate doing some
Yes.
further
Yeah.
interim,
Performance standard, sampling.
interim system sampling testing to.
Right. And also to answer another part of your question about staffing with the district, we're setting this up so that we train the staff.
Mhm.
And so as we're collecting this data and we're going through the system, they'll understand what this means. And so they can respond to something rather than just report data.
Right.
They'll have the ability to interpret the data. And I may see myself in the future as just a phone call like, hey, we're seeing this. Then
Right.
what do we do? So that's why it's 2 years rather than 1 year, because can wean essential operations off so that the district staff can take it over and operate it without us holding their hand every day or every week.
Justin, do you anticipate developing process procedures, documentation for how to operate? I see Terry shaking his
Yeah,
head.
that's my goal. That's with hiring
Okay.
Terry is with, when he leaves, we have the mechanisms in place, the procedures and the SOPs in place to.
Something written
With
for
going.
us to be able to then reference in the future to go back to,
Correct.
oh, what are we supposed to be doing now?
All our operators are drinking water operators. I feel like we do have the staff in place to follow, Terry's directions, so.
Yes. Yeah.
But
But
I
they're
think
probably not all wastewater treatment system
we
operators.
have no wastewater treatment system operators.
Okay. Isn't there some requirement for basic level?
Yes.
We're in a tough situation, so.
Yes.
Become a wastewater operator, you must work full-time in a wastewater treatment facility.
Oh,
And
okay, okay,
revenue just doesn't allow that.
right, okay. So no, we don't have somebody up there full time. Okay. All right, well, okay. And I've got a question on generator, but I assume we'll talk about that after we conclude everything else that's here. Okay. Okay, that's the questions that I think I have for now. Yeah.
I know we're all gonna have a lot more questions. I guess my turn. I'm getting educated here. And just to get a sense of how this works, what are So Bear Creek Estates, what is your estimate for how many gallons per day of effluent comes out? And then are there any estimates for how much intrusion adds to that? I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of flow rates.
But there's some math that can be done to figure out some type of intrusion rate based on what it is during the dry season and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I would say, average probably around 10,000 gallons of fluid a day.
A day.
But that varies big time between.
Okay.
Winter and
Okay.
summer.
And I'm not familiar with Bear Creek Estates. What's the approximate number of customers there?
56.
56. Okay, so 56 producing about 10,000.
Correct.
Okay, so about 200 gallons a day per household.
And like I said, it varies. I've seen the numbers bounce between 6 to 20,000.
Okay.
But on average, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, 200 sounds a little high, actually, for usage.
175
Yeah.
per home. Whenever our residential treatment systems, they're about 175. Some of them are lower.
Okay.
It would be good to probably do a fixture inventory for all the homes to see if they have low flow. And that would help them both conserve water as well as reduce the amount of water going through the treatment system.
Right, sure.
So that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Right. Okay, good. And then are there any estimates for, I guess, during the high flows? What are we talking? It jumps to 20, 30? I just have no idea.
32.
32.
32, it's designed to handle 32.
Ah,
So
okay.
there is also another state requirement that we have violated in the past. It's 16,500 gallons a day effluent on average, daily average, based on a quarter. So we are right on that limit, sometimes even going over during the winter, wet seasons.
There are stop gaps that you can do. Like I have one system that we installed 2 10,000 gallon poly tanks in it. And so we take that extra surge that comes through during the rainy time, and we set it aside until we drop lower production, and then we feed it back into the system to be treated. And so that way you don't max out days with the overall infiltration. The infiltration still needs to be fixed. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
There is a way to kind of limp by to get past that in a way if you look at it differently rather than straightforward. So
Yeah, that could be, I guess, a parallel effort
Yep.
that we could talk about
Yep.
at some point. Okay.
if needed.
And so when you say that the state is requiring us to reduce the total nitrogen load by half, is it currently 60 and they want it to be 30? I didn't hear any numbers.
Last results showed 48. That seems like a pretty reasonable average. I think a little less usually. So
and they're looking for 30 as a spec or what?
In the permit, there was, I think it was 45 was the goal to reach underneath, but the requirement was 50% reduction.
Okay, so I guess I'm confused. If the goal is 45, the state just says, well, we don't care about the goal. We want it 50% reduced.
I believe I would look at it as two different requirements.
Okay.
45 and 50.
Is that something that can be appealed? Is there a reason for it outside of, yeah, we just like it lower? I mean, I get that, but is that something that's appealable? Or, what's the legal basis for it?
The state asks for either 30 milligrams per liter reduction, that's the effluent going out.
Right.
Or for commercial systems, 50% reduction. And so if you were hit 30 all the time going out, that would be great. You would be hitting what the state asked for. And if 45 was in, I don't remember reading that in the discharge order, but they state several times 50% reduction. So that's actually the easier road to tow than sometimes to get 30% reduction. To get that 50% is a lot more achievable.
And when they say 50%, is this on a weighted average basis over the whole year? I mean, how is that
You're
measured?
taking a snapshot almost every time you take. So you're taking a sample and it's a snapshot of that day at that moment of your influent and a snapshot of your effluent going out. And so that's what you're graded on, basically, is that snapshot for that day. And it needs to be the same time every quarter that you take this sample. So it's the first week in January, first week in the third, fourth month.
So quarterly.
Right, quarterly. And there are some monthly requirements, some others that I don't remember exactly.
We sample twice a month. We do sample twice a month, and he's correct. It's on the first Thursday and the third Thursday of every. That's what our requirements are.
Okay. And is it believed that the nitrogen load is coming from the households, or is it debris and organics that are pulled in from the rain intrusion?
Most likely you're having an issue getting rid of pee. Urine, that's the hardest one.
There's the solution.
There you go.
No more peeing.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And it is a conversion that was brought up earlier. So we need to convert it.
And I am curious just about the technology. Are these mat systems which have a biofilm on them, or what's the process which I guess takes the ammonia, turns it into nitrite, then nitrate, right?
So it's several different processes that are going on in the trickling filter, but you have a biomass that grows on the media that's in the trickling filter, and that's going to be some reduction in you get some removal. But then taking that same water that's gone through there, sending say half of it back to the beginning of the system and having it run through the anoxic area where there's no oxygen, where the septic tank, you might say, at the beginning of the system, that is going to do the process that we're missing here. And currently it goes through the trickling filter, bypasses the first tank, goes to the second tank. I mean, this, I don't know, but it's getting short circuited. Or the other thing is based on, I haven't looked at all the sample results, but there just may not be enough carbon in the system to feed the bugs to do what they need to do. And so if we look at if they're getting carbon starved, then there's some easy ways to move forward in adding carbon to reduce the amount.
Charcoal or something? Or...
No, it's actually, it's called Carbon C, and it's a liquid that it is an additive. But there were also other recommendations about phosphate and reducing, some pH and stuff. And I want to stay away from that. That's very caustic and difficult to handle and deal with. But again, I'm not taking anything off the table, but until we get in and understand the system better and see where it's performing well, where it's not, and how we can just actually, yes, some trial on moving the flows in different areas to see if we get a better result rather than starting from scratch. There are, in all of my contracts, and I think it's in this one, there's no guarantee that the system's going to work the way it is because no one can control what goes into it. So the households that put in too much bleach one day, if they have a B&B and they have a cleaner come through and just dose everything, we've seen that just blow up systems. It's really, we're glorified bug farmers that we're trying to grow the right bugs to do the job,
right,
and to get the chemistry right. And that's what we're trying to understand. And I don't have enough data to tell you exactly what we're going to do. But also I'm taking this very seriously and understand this is a big commitment and we're going to do everything we can to understand it, to give you the best recommendations so that when this time is through, or before we even get through and I can look at it and say, this won't happen, I'll be back here going, this isn't going to work. And you need to start looking at something else. And here's some options. So yeah.
I did want to say, Terry, we greatly appreciate your insights coming here tonight. This has been really educational. I am curious, given the many systems you've worked on over the years, how does our challenge stack up?
Again, until I can dive in and see how it breathes and works and operates, I can't really tell you, but I have, these feelings that it's carbon starved and you're not getting the recirculation levels that you need. And those are the two basic things. Adding more oxygen is easy to do without the blowers. And there's going to be some costs that I'm going to be suggesting some changes in the system here and there. But I also have in my hip pocket an engineer who worked with me at Fall Creek Engineering, and he designed these systems along with me going out and installing them. And in this budget, there's 40 hours of his time included So I have someone else that I can bounce stuff off of that understands these systems. I understand the day in and day out. He understands the chemistry and knows what I'm talking about whenever I say something. And I don't have to re-explain it to people. So, yeah.
If I could ask,
Yeah.
who's that?
Meyer Engineering, Paul Meyer.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We go way back.
Let's see if I had any other questions at this point. Okay, I'm sure that directors have more questions, but why don't we open it up
May I ask a
to
question?
the, oh, sure, please.
Jess, you said right after we pump the tanks out that we see a reduction. Is it back to being high again at the next sample at 2 weeks?
It was, yes.
Okay. And the gentleman who came out and gave a tour, was he from RCAC?
Yes, that's.
Okay. And so we gave a gentleman a tour who was looking at giving us some sort of grant to pay for these things. So it is on the table.
Still on the table, like, it's a slow process, but,
How long ago was that?
Yeah.
I'm just,
it was before the holidays, we gave the tour.
okay,
He reached out to me before the holidays to say he hasn't forgotten about us, and then just early this week, I pinged him again. Haven't heard back.
good. All right, that'd be great. Well, thank you for all being patient, and I hope you haven't forgotten the questions that you had. Would you like to get up first? Or, and whoever would like to talk, if you would come up to the microphone here and introduce yourself.
Don't be shy.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Okay.
Let's look at you anyhow from the audience.
So Stacy Wilbur, we live in Ten Meadow. I had a bunch of other questions as you're going through, and I had things like, had more questions. But, so I'll start with the first one. I'm pretty sure in the history documentation that's on your website, that talks about you guys taking the system over in 1985 when we decided, or we influenced you to take over operation of our new plant at the same time as you gave us access to your water. I think that was in 85. Not 67, 67 is when the first developer of our area decided instead of doing septic systems on the house, to do a big septic system, call it a sewer, and put the other homes on that. So it's just some homes you're not into them actually. Then some others later came on that. So that was our play. What?
Is your mic on?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, we can hear
That
you.
was our way to influence you guys will do your water. If you do our septic. Plus we wanted your water in. Well, that's how I understood it. I think it was in 85, not 67. But do something, to go back and look at. And Bob, you mentioned about intrusion protection and stuff like that. Around 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I think it was before COVID, and before the CCS fire, we paid a bunch of money for 2 rounds of third-party video surveillance in the pipes of all the outflow out of our house. You know, so your inflow out of our house pipes that go down the streets. We did that over a 2-year period. Did one, I think, in the summerish or fall, I don't remember. But they were concerned that there wasn't enough water present because it wasn't rain. So we did one in later winter or spring, I think, if I remember right. We paid substantial money for that to be done. Hopefully you guys have the results because we never were given the results.
Do we?
I was unable to find any results. Found some language referring to that. District was gonna do that. I was not able to find results.
Yeah, we.
Do we know who the
did it.
contractor was?
That's.
Yeah, we can.
I'll follow up on that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
it was sizable, I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Right.
I was thinking 10 or 20,000, but
Let us do some more research on that station.
so we'll do that, let's do that again, because they did say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of infiltration and a lot of streets and stuff. And I don't know that they named out where the worst ones were or anything like that. And they also talked in one of our meetings we had that's like this with the water district. They talked about the possibility of what's happened to put a liner.
Yeah.
Fiberglass with some sort of like liner that goes there. Problem with that, you have to dig up every connection. To make the whole back
Maybe.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unless you have some sort of mouse that goes down there.
Yeah.
Doesn't. Yeah. So anyways, they didn't talk about that at one point. Mr. Smiley did ask about whether operations would be affected. He said no. But they also said, and I read that you're gonna be training some individuals of ours. They don't spend very many hours out there. So if we're having training, being out there, that seems like it'd be more labor you'd have to pay them at being out there, which means we would have,
Yes.
so assuming that increase. And I can see that being double the labor of what we're paying now. Just because of the amount of time they would have to be there. But it's interesting. Whether that's true, how much it's gonna be. Because I assume if you're training them, you're gonna want to train 2 or 3 people. And they're all gonna need to be there at the same time, or else he has to train each one.
Mhm.
You know, the same thing over and over, which can use it as. I think the answer is yes. I do have a question. You'd asked about, if, how many of the toilets were low flow? Mine isn't, but I don't know about anybody else's. I have a hard time getting mine to flush with high flow,
Local.
but, and I'm on it, so it should be. But, the question was, if everybody went low flow, that would reduce the amount of water and more pee. Basically, this was a problem. But how does that affect what you're looking for as far as the inflow test of nitrogen versus when you're done processing? How's that affected by that?
It's gonna help concentrate the carbon though, whenever you reduce the amount of water going through, so you're not, it's not gonna be spread out as much if you look at it that way. You can get to a point where you get too low flow, and a lot of larger treatment systems have ran into issues with not enough flow through the system to convey it.
Yeah.
But as long as you have enough to convey the waste through the system, that's what we're looking for. We don't want an overboard amount of water. Right now, if everyone still has regular toilets and showers and everything, that could be looked at and considered. And there are possibly some loans and stuff available for that for different people. So that's something to consider looking into.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the district many times has, special offerings where you pay a couple $100 for your buying of a low flow toilet and stuff. I've never taken them up on that just because I have. I had a general question about why we're thinking about doing this approach with hiring a contractor, let's say for 2 years versus going with the recommendation we were given back in 99 or 2000 or somewhere in there, when we paid 60,000 or so for a company to give us 3 or 4 ideas of how to fix the problem. I think Bob Folks was talking about that. And that it's his opinion that they only address the systems that the county would take. But why aren't we just doing one of those? Other than we can't afford it, but I don't know if we can afford this either.
I would say the difference is that Terry would provide us a service where he'll be able to follow up with these changes, and he'll be able to monitor these changes, where the previous consultant you were speaking of, they basically just gave us these options and then presented to us and then walked away, and there was no follow-up with any type of adjustments or modifications we made. And staff just didn't have the knowledge to understand what other type of adjustments needed to make to the suggested alternative.
Right, but the opinion was, at that time, the system was about 40 years old and was past its lifetime use. That's the word. And that whole thing needed to be replaced anyways. So if it's not past its lifetime use, then it's gonna last another 40 years the way it is, with minor changes, or we're gonna have to do all the pumps that effluent up to the plant and replace the grinders, replace everything except for the 2 tanks. And what about the leach fields? I think we have 2 sets that we flip between that have been used for 40 years. Maybe more. So are we thinking about doing a new leach field? Because we don't run out of space for that, or we're gonna plug up the 2 major ones that we have now?
I think that the future of the leach fields, that's something Terry would look at extensively, and we come up with a strategy after Terry had a chance to look at it.
That's an area that wasn't looked at very well by the consultants that did the reporting, and that is something that it needs to be dived into. We have the experience and understanding of how they work and the hydraulics of water in the soil. So I have a new system we just took over in Prunedale Shopping Center, and it's been mismanaged, the disposal field, and they have a swamp now. And so I'm doing a similar thing there and going in and trying to understand how to manage and operate their disposal field so that we can hopefully recapture over half of their disposal field through proper management. And it's one of those things that that's why this first year costs so much. It's just my extra time on site actually is what it is, to see what's going on, understanding it, and then managing through that and seeing if the things that we are recommending and the steps that we take do make a difference. If they don't, how do we go back and reassess it and then make the next recommendation? But the disposal field is going to be something in the future that this organization needs to look at, in an area that's big enough to dispose of that much water on a regular basis. It's something that you should be thinking about it in a serious way. For future.
So what's the historical records that
You know,
can be used? Seems like for septic tanks, it's 20 to 30 years.
right, but you can also leave a disposal, one leg of that disposal field off for 6 months, and it can almost regenerate itself, or you can pump ox or air into it for 6 months or less, and you're going to rejuvenate it quicker. So there are failed systems that fail because of grease mainly, and or biofilm because the filters didn't filter out what was going into the field, and you're going to clog that. And you can get permits to redo certain parts of it and make it and bring it back to life to a degree. But long term, even today, if you were to get a home wastewater treatment system, not just a septic system, but a treatment system for your home, they're going to ask you to set aside 100% of your disposal field for future, whenever that disposal field life is over. And then it's kind of a trade-off every 50, 60 years that you can move back and forth to a degree. So I do want to answer one question about the county. The county really, for commercial systems, they don't have to be NSF approved. And so you can pretty much choose any new system out there that you would like to bring in if there is an option for you that looks like you can afford it. But the big things you have to look at that are undersold in systems is the long-term operational cost of the system. And that's anything from having the tanks pumped on a regular basis, that maintenance, or the hours it takes every day to be there to make sure it operates right. And some of the suggestions that I read about that they made were way off base. They're not real. And so you currently have a system that it takes some understanding of it, but it's one of the lowest cost to operate that are out there. And I'm sure that's why it was originally chosen. The biggest cost associated with the Strickland filter system is the annual pumping that you're going to be doing to maintain the system properly. And you may see an increase in that, but a decrease in the daily activity that someone's out there, because once you get it operating right, it kind of takes care of itself, but you need to get it to that point and then maintain it on a regular basis and know what changes are taking place. So,
Stacy, if you don't mind, maybe we can have some other folks come up and then. No, I get that.
those
That's
are
great.
great questions.
Yeah.
We wanted his questions to leave up.
They're really good questions.
We know.
Yes.
Did anyone else want to add anything? Because no, this has been a great discussion. Thank you very much. No.
She runs the place,
okay.
basically.
She looked like she had a question, so you know.
She's wondering what I'm doing.
All right.
Do you have comments that you want to share with us, or?
They were just along the way, like,
Can you come up to the mic?
Yes.
I didn't want to be on camera. I'm not as well versed in the system. Terry's the one who's done the research on this, but I do work with Terry. Usually when we've seen the permit written stuff, it's the 50% reduction is only if you aren't able to meet the ideal number. Like for residential, which I work with a little bit more. Currently with a new lamp, it's 30 that it wants all the numbers under, or 50% reduction. So as it's moving towards stricter, I'm sure it's going to get harder, but those systems that are not meeting the ideal, usually they can pass in another way. So I think that's kind of, you guys have been going for the 50% reduction. That's not the ideal number, but that's kind of the goal of what we're trying to get to.
Okay. No, that's good.
Okay, not raising hand.
Thank you. Okay. But if we're currently at, you said 45 is kind of a high side, or is that an average?
That's an average.
Average, okay.
Yeah, it's closer to
So
average.
50% would be 22, 25.
Right.
And then we're obviously below the 30 at that point as well.
Yep.
Okay.
22 is great.
Yeah.
That'd be
Okay.
nice.
All right. If there are no more questions, we're going to come back to the board, and Brian, if you don't mind. Oh, you, no, would you like to add something? Sure. Okay.
So again, Stacy Wilmer. She just touched on it, but I just wanted to make sure I understood. Earlier,
Brian?
yeah.
Oh, hi,
She
yes,
said,
Brian Largay.
it's 50% reduction required now, but in the future, you said something about 10%, so I think you mean 90% reduction.
Yeah, so I was referring to 10 milligrams
Right.
per liter as nitrate nitrogen. And I forgive me for saying that. depending on the water quality standard and the agency that's regulating it, some use the number 10, some use the number 45. And it's kind of like whether they're using the metric system or the imperial units. And I think I was using 10 where some others in this conversation have used 45. Is that?
Yes, but I think 45 does come from somewhere in the discharge order. But again, it's gonna, right now, your requirement for the discharge, 50% reduction. And I doubt that the state can move as quickly as we're saying about making it less and less. Not that they won't move towards that, for everyone's benefit in different ways, protecting the watershed, but it's going to be years and a lot of lawsuits before they can get to that point.
Fair enough. Thank you. So I think the main point is that 10 is stricter than what we face now. And whether that's 2032, as I hypothesized, or some time out further into the future.
There are systems, they're about $1.5 million, $2 million to meet your flow rates that will bring it down to 10. And you have to have a grade 3 operator, and a grade 3 operator will probably need to be there 4 hours a day to get it to that point.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're at least 7 years from that, and after some number of lawsuits and more time, hopefully
longer.
Hopefully a lot longer.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess, Stacy, it sounds like what Jesse and what you're hearing here is that it would be ideal, as you outlined, to have the whole system re-looked at and optimized, from leach field to piping, all the pieces. But I think what Jesse and staff are proposing here is that this is a method that might get it, with any luck and Terry's insights, get it up and running and meeting the state so that we don't have that issue. And that hopefully with training, then we'll be good for 5, maybe 10 years. But at some point, I think the reality is that the standards are going to get stricter, and we'll have to look at what makes sense at that point and do the appropriate studies, Did you have anything else that you'd like to add?
On that topic?
Well, any of these topics.
Yeah. I mean, on that topic, it sounds like it'd be a good idea to have a look and see what he thinks. But we've been told this is gonna most likely fix it. Times before, $500,000 coming. And it's really more than $500,000, because maybe somebody can tell us how often we do the required
The sampling.
water testing. It's like a couple times a month,
Couple times a month.
and the cost each time is how much?
It's about 4 hours of labor.
Yeah, but I mean, for the whole test, it's written up in the
It's
quarterlies and stuff. I just don't know.
it's about $800 per round of sampling, I believe, give or take.
Okay, so that's $1,600 a month,
Yes.
and it's one of those because we don't meet it versus, but if we were meeting it and showed that we meet it for, let's say, a year, do they reduce the sampling to 1 every 2 months? or-
That's a good question. I don't know that. Terry might be able to
You
check
can put a request into the water board to reduce your sampling because you've proven that you've met the standard and you're continuing to meet it. And then you can request that, and then the water board will meet and either say yes or no, or they may do something in between.
How many quarters do we have to have?
No.
No.
But I guess the thing I'm trying to get to is we're forced to do it more often than you normally would.
Yep.
For the last 25 years.
Yeah, basically 20.
So the $500,000 thing, you can add times 20 years worth of extra water testing. And when we were doing it back in May 05, it was like $300 or something like that a test. And so now it's 800 or.
Prices have gone up.
Yeah. So.
No.
It's just, more cost and stuff.
Yep.
Um, And I guess you're not gonna look at the inflow other than the rise in volume of the water. I know at certain times in the past, it had gone to like 32. Whether in millions of gallons, is that what you, or thousands of gallons?
32,000 daily average.
Yeah, that it's gone to that, and they've had to pump it and stuff during those times in the winter time.
Right.
So, and in the summer, it's like you're saying, 12. So there's up to 20,000, I don't know. Is that right?
Some quick math, yeah, it got
20,000.
15, 20,000
Yeah.
gallons coming in.
So up to 20,000 gallons worth of extra water because of the intrusion.
Yep.
So,
Which has a domino.
and that intrusion is gonna affect all your weeks and stuff.
Yep.
So if that's not fixed, you're gonna have a real hard time doing the job.
Right. But there are, like I mentioned earlier, there's ways to sideline that water possibly, but that costs money too. So putting in 10,000 gallon tanks, you compare that to whatever it costs to have that pump during an intrusion event over the lifetime. It may be a better investment to put in 20,000 gallon or 10,000 gallon tanks rather than having it pumped every time you have an intrusion event. So, look at those handoffs or trade-offs of how best to manage this short-term and long-term.
And Stacey, we have been pumping during these intrusion events. We haven't had to do it this winter yet, but the past 3 winters we had to call emergency pumpers out.
They're like once a month.
Oh no, it was like a year, more like once or twice a year during the really, really high rain seasons. Yeah, but it's fairly expensive based on it's kind of emergency pumping. So
how much do they pump for that?
Depends how much we need, and sometimes it's just whatever we can get out of there because another storm's coming in. 1,500 gallon trucks. They usually do 6. It's probably between 5,000 to 8,000 gallons per event. It's usually about 4 or 5 loads.
And then we have like concrete tanks, 2 of them. And what's their capacity?
It is, should know, I'm sorry. Stacey, you got me on that one. Let's back on that one.
We have it.
It's an alternative.
I was thinking everything.
We have an overflow tank as well, so there's other. We have more capacity than maybe what the system is designed to show.
I drew this out the other day. And I'm like, this is.
What? Gotta be. Bring my stuff back to us.
Wanna borrow mine?
No, it's that'd be our kid.
School, great.
So the hope then is that he can do something that'll fix it and prolong it for 5 or 10 years.
Really, yes, and you're looking at you have all the components there to meet that was designed and installed for this enhanced treatment, and you're looking at pump replacement. Really, is like the things that are going to go bad on you are those. Your tanks look like have good integrity. They're not eaten up by hydrogen sulfide. I'm not sure about the blowers. I need to go through those and understand them, see what's possibilities of maintaining, replacing, or getting rid of those. But it's really components, and it's just like your water pump on your car. If it goes out in 10 years, you're going to replace that instead of getting rid of your whole car. And it's just components. You're dealing with floats, pumps, some piping, some electronic valves, and those are replaced throughout the lifetime of the system. And so It's just kind of like the ongoing regular maintenance and care that should be being done anyway.
And you also mentioned about the, needing a generator. What's the cost to replace that?
So currently we're gathering quotes for this generator. And I don't want to give a number amount because it could influence the contractor, the quotes, but I'll get into that after this conversation. We'll open it up to conversation.
That's at the end.
What is,
The
That
generator.
discussion.
They had that on the agendas.
okay,
Separate item.
I thought you went over it in the.
I did mention it, but I have some more to discuss. I have another presentation for that. Not as long.
All right, well, I'll let you get to that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stacy. All right, let's have another go around with directors. Brian, did you have any follow on?
I don't, I appreciate all of this conversation and context. I think, I use the word tinkering to describe the approach that's been proposed. I'd like to retract that and call it troubleshooting, because it sounds like you guys know what you're looking for and have a reasonable likelihood of finding it. I guess I wish that it could be done in 3 months and just see if there's hope. It's a pretty dry winter, so maybe it's a good. Who knows? But signing up for a year and a half or 2 years seems like a big commitment. Acknowledging
I think
that.
I give the district an out on my contract.
Okay.
So I think I wrote it in so that you can get rid of me anytime. Pretty much. So
Okay.
I understand that regular people are paying for this and they need it to work or not work. I mean, and know what's coming their way. So I didn't want to lock in something that I'm just not going to show up and get paid for no reason. I mean, I'm going to be there doing the job, making sure I'm doing it to the best of my ability to meet the needs of the community.
I appreciate that.
Fun.
Very good.
Right. And then my only other question related to this is whether there's been an investigation of grant funding opportunities for this. The State Water Board has $110 million program for wastewater treatment plants and generators, backup generators, specific to, I believe, disadvantaged communities. And the map that I see them calling for in the solicitation would view this area to the south of Bear Creek Road as such. And so there may be an opportunity to pursue that type of financial support. Of course, that would take a year or more, and whether we have that kind of time, I'm not sure about, but I would encourage contemplation of that for whatever this discovers. There may be more costs.
Excuse me, Brian, we're usually not disadvantaged in our community. What are you saying about the Bear Creek Estates that makes them disadvantaged in that way?
So each bond, statewide bond funding measure that's been done over the past 20 years prioritizes disadvantaged communities, and they all use a different metric for calculating.
Yeah, I understand how they work. What's the metric that they fall under?
So I don't know about the metric, but here's the map. And so they publish a map showing the different areas. And in all of Santa Cruz County, some of the urban areas are so listed, but there's this block here just on the south side of Bear Creek, coming out of Boulder Creek.
Brian, what if you just send that to Jason, the link to that?
Yeah.
And then he could send it to the rest of the staff.
Okay.
The rest of the directors.
Yeah, because I mean, that would be really great. I mean, not that we want
Curiosity.
not you guys feel you're disadvantaged, but it would be great from a grant point of view, right? So, all right.
The last survey that you guys conducted for us to see if we were disadvantaged, people that gave data change any conclusion that we want.
Yeah, typically you would, no, typically very few areas in our district are disadvantaged,
But maybe this grant is different.
but it's maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they're all a little weird that way. And then I'll also say that these programs, if you get lucky, you can get funding even if you're not disadvantaged. And
To be looked at.
right, I'll make a little package and send it to you guys.
Thank you.
That's all I got. Thank
All
you.
right. Elena, would you like to follow on with any of the questions?
Yeah, I was kind of more a comment, I guess. I just really want to listen to, the customers here that are footing this bill and, making sure that we're listening to exactly what they want. And I guess you kind of made me feel a little bit better because I was really worried that we're throwing more money at a system that, might have met its lifespan, but then you kind of started talking about how we could just do component replacement. So that's making me feel a little bit better. But I'm also concerned we're spending 2 years to maybe get 5 to 10 years. Could you explain a little bit more, like why you think it's just going to be 5 to 10 years additional that we'll get?
I didn't say that necessarily.
Okay.
That was my conjecture, given Brian's 2032 new standard of 10 milligrams per liter. Saying,
okay.
well, with lawsuits, maybe it makes it 2035, so 10 years.
Okay.
Who knows, right?
Okay. All right. And I just wanted to just echo just the whole going for grants. As Director Largay said, I think I found a similar map and I have sent it to Jason before, and it does show that little pocket of disadvantaged out there at Bear Creek. So hopefully you can use that to get some grants. But anyways, I really appreciated this discussion. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Elena. Bob?
I always find the bureaucratic mindset interesting where we have a system that clearly is not up to snuff. But by God, if we test more and harder, maybe it'll show it being up to snuff and spend more money on that. Is there any way we can go back to them and say, can we test less? We know it's not going to get any better during this time period. This makes no sense that I didn't realize we were spending extra money on it. Any way we can say, hey, give us a break here. These people are suffering.
At least have that discussion.
At least have the
At least
discussion.
ask the question.
What is this?
Being out of compliance, the $10,000 day fine per day.
I get that.
Yeah, so
But
sampling's a lot less.
but even so, I mean, we know that the system isn't working.
But you would have to find a regulator who's reasonable and you could have a discussion with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I see you rolling your eyes,
I'm
Terry.
sorry.
There are a few out there, but it's few and far between. So I think you could ask the question, but if they come back with Terry's answer, I would recommend drop it.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I mean,
So, but
this is crazy.
Bob, we can't put logic into
No,
the
I-
regulators' minds.
That's why I say
They
it's
can
very
ask the
interesting.
question, but at the same time,
I
give
mean,
up.
let's
Give up.
punish the people hard.
but
Okay, anyway, the second thing, is there a way for us to estimate inflow from houses by looking at their water meter usage every month? And then you look at what's coming into the system and maybe do a subtraction. Is that a possibility?
Is it 80 or 90%? 80%?
What's 80%?
80% of the inflow to a house goes
Goes out.
into the disposal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I mean, it wouldn't be exact, but at least it'd be an approximate.
But between that and the differences that you're pointing out to us, summer versus winter, you're getting kind of in the
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm
ballpark.
saying that is that if you look at our system overall, the indoor water usage per day per person estimated in our system is somewhere between 38 and 42 gallons per day. And so, I mean, we are as a district phenomenal and our usage of water compared to most of the rest of the state. We're actually known for that around the state, our district is.
Yeah.
So when I hear that we're talking 175 gallons a day in the household, it's like, well, if there's 3 people in it, maybe, but 2, which I'm assuming.
I
most
ran that
people
number,
do.
just for reference, that works out to 7 units a month, which is far above
Oh,
our
yeah.
district
Right.
average.
Yeah.
And if 80% is applied to that, it means actually each household is using 8 units a
But-
month. And I don't believe it.
Is the point of this question? Do we have a lot of infiltration coming into the system? Even during the summertime? Because,
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That may be the case.
and if that's the case, then is that the biggest part of our?
Well, I'm guessing the infiltration is the biggest part of this, once you get by some of the I
Right.
always say remediation and
Right.
refinement
Right.
that Terry's proposing to do.
So knowing, to Bob's point, knowing what residents are using, back almost back of the envelope.
Yeah.
Should give us, what should we be expecting on a monthly basis to have to treat? How much are we treating on a monthly basis, even during the dry season months?
Right.
And how much is infiltration part of the problem, even during July?
Yeah,
Redwoods are letting water back into the soils. during the summer.
Right,
because I want to get to a point where the system is not just sort of kind of functional, but we actually are addressing
right.
through capital and potentially even grants if they're available,
And if we
the
think-
real issue here,
Yeah, there
which
was
is
lining
infiltration.
pipes, whatever. Is that?
Yeah, if infiltration.
And those pipes are pretty old.
Yeah.
They're old.
And
Agreed.
what kind are they? Are they transite? Are they, transite? Oh.
Yeah.
Those things are leaking like this. Yeah. Okay, I'm assuming, by the way, were they 8-inch or 6?
4 and 6.
4 and 6 for solids? Wow. Okay, we never installed less than 8 when I was doing that. Okay, well, I appreciate it.
How many feet approximately?
Yeah, can
You know how many feet of pipes?
67. Yeah, I do. It's approximately, well, how many feet? I got a little over a mile.
Of total.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
The laterals coming from the 56 houses and then the final runs.
Because the leach field is quite a ways up Bear Creek. It's
Really?
not like right next door. It's
I see.
go around the corner and, yeah. Okay, well, that certainly explains a lot then, if it's transite and it's 4 to 6 inches.
That's, because the dry flow might very well be from households, and it would be a pretty easy thing to just look up, add up what that usage is for the
Yep.
56 homes.
Well,
It might be 5,000 or 6,000 gallons a day. So we're looking at twice that flow dry and then 5-6 times that flow during high intrusion events, right? So
I guess at this point in time, we probably aren't leaking out at the pipes. Because it's all been compacted. Yeah, okay, thank you.
okay, that's great. Bob, do you have anything, or Mark, anything like that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Couple of things. Terry, you were alluding to, if we were able to reduce, household outflow. Somebody was asking a question about low flow toilets or low flow shower heads. I think the residents, if the district made an effort, could get them to do that. But if we think that there's the potential of that helping the system, however, before we even begin to consider that, I want to ask again about how much should we be getting from the residents and how much is infiltration? So I would think go solve that first and then be able to come back to us to say, hey, if we were able to reduce what we should be getting from residents from X volume and reduced it by 10% or 15% from low flow devices, that could. So I would ask that. Second, Stacy mentioned the video surveys sometime prior to 2020. If we can't find them, could you go back and ask our previous general manager that question and see what his, yeah, okay, thanks, what his recollection is. And the third, I hear a lot of, well, what are we gonna be doing? Well, have you found out about the system in the 3 minutes that you've looked at it so far, Terry? Well, what are you gonna do with this? Well, and I've heard Brian allude to it, a thought that I've had. Is coming back to this group, if the board authorizes the essential operations at a board meeting, come back to us in what's a reasonable time? 90 days, 120 days
6 months,
of
180 days.
just
You mean a progress report? An update?
exactly,
Yeah.
not a report. No, not a report. As informal as you could get it, as informal as you could get it to say, here's what I see. Here's what I see going on. Here's what I think the issues are. Here's what else we're going to be doing. Because that would, if I was a homeowner, would make me feel better rather than they just told us they're going to do this for 2 years.
Part of my agreement is to do quarterly reports.
Right.
To summarize the actions taken, the things that we've.
Right.
I overkill sometimes about here's what we found, here's what we've done, here's what we're doing, here's our goals, and so yeah, we do that.
Okay.
So,
But you're doing those reports quarterly.
Mhm.
But you're thinking you would need 180 days, so 2 quarters of this to be able to. And I'm not looking for the definitive answer. I'm looking for, here's what I think, here's what I see, here's what appears to be going on.
I can give you the snapshots, and
That's what I think
Yeah.
would, for me at least, would be.
I think that I
Okay,
would want that.
okay,
I mean, that's where I'll be living.
okay. Well, then I think it's up to us to ask staff that at some point then for that interim. Okay. Okay, that's the thoughts or questions that I had
Okay.
at this point. So, okay.
Terry, I'm kind of curious about your mental process.
Oh, no, that's.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Straight jacket?
Yeah, straight jacket. Because I haven't heard you say that you spend a lot of time with, engineering simulations and models and stuff like that. I get the feeling over the years you've developed just schemas that work for you, and you sort of have an intuition
Yep.
about it. And so I guess the Myers fellow you would bring in for maybe the engineering side, maybe some insights out of the box.
Yep.
But this is how you lived and breathed for 40 years.
I took my aluminum toe boots off on the way here, took a shower. I was out in the field all day today working. And I got 4 other field technicians. We're all certified through National Wastewater Technicians Association or something. And we do regular training. Again, we operate, I know of 2, 3 trickling filters in this county that I don't operate. And again, I've built them, and also having an insight into all the other technologies that are on the market that we operate. We have hundreds of residential treatment systems, just not septic systems, but people have buried cars in their front yards, and we maintain them and operate them basically. And they're investing $180,000 just for a single home treatment system, and we operate them. And our goal, and it's one of our fundamental goals for this company, is that we just don't pencil whip an inspection or something. We hired someone. We have 2 people that sit down and look at sample results, and we go through the results, and we understand, okay, what's causing this issue? Okay, what are we going to do next to fix this issue? We're proactive in working towards making sure that the systems operate properly. I originally started this company in 2018 and we're doing the same one for Fall Creek Engineering, but so that my grandkids who live right up here in Boulder Creek or in Lomond can go down to the river whenever they want and swim. And, you know, that time hasn't come yet. And so we have a lot of work to do. And that's my goal, is to make things work the way that they're supposed to. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you that this thing is shot. You know, if it's shot, there's no way to get around it. But I will also do everything using all my knowledge, my background, intuitive sense of how things work to make it work. I mean, that's just the way I am. I can't help myself. I mean, this will be the thing that I go to sleep with, the thing I wake up. So I don't take it lightly. No, it's important to me.
Appreciate that. And appreciate your approach, actually. Thank you. I am curious if, let's say that when Jesse gathers the numbers and indeed the households are typically using only 5,000 or 6,000 gallons a day, which might be closer to the reality if they're typical for water district users. And you, with your intuition, you're able to get the system working for 10 and even 25, 30 during intrusion events. If we then really take care of the intrusion problems, what's your, is that only a positive?
It's only a positive.
Only a positive.
Only a positive. I mean, intrusion. Okay, so you have three facets to your system that you need to consider. One is the intrusion, which knocks on your door every winter. Then your disposal field also, which is screaming during the winter as well. But if that's not maintained, that's going to be one of your more expensive endeavors, is your disposal field in the future. I mean, that's one that costs more. It's more than just a pump replacement. It's some engineering, soils. There's going to be costs associated with redoing your disposal field. And we'll have that understanding, or a better understanding, when I'm through looking at this. And we'll have an idea of where you need to go with it. Your treatment system, let's get it balanced. Let's get it understood and walk through the steps. Yeah, there's going to be stuff that we tried that's going to fail. There's going to be stuff that, okay, here's our next step. And it always is a value consideration to how much are we investing to get that result. And we want to invest as little as possible to get the maximum result we can. And I've already been thinking about this thing, and I'm like, okay, I want to try this first thing. I want to try this next. But again, I would need to review kind of data and look at it and just kind of absorb it and let it kind of settle in. I don't know how else to say it. And then come approach it and start taking steps. And here's my goal. Here's what I want to do. And verify. I think there's a possibility that over the years, some of the pumps that are used in the system don't have the right flows. I mean, I was looking at the pumps and I'm like, it's in the back of my head that these pumps aren't the right pumps for the system.
They're not matched.
And they're not moving enough water at the right velocity to do what they're supposed to be doing with the inflow that we have, irregardless if you have intrusion or not. So I want to get those things picked up, verified, and look at them. Are we moving the right amount of water through the trickling filters? Are we dosing them appropriately? Are we getting the biological growth on there that we're supposed to be getting? And I'm going to pop the lid off of there and jump inside and take a look at the media, see what's going on in there. Right? And then I'll have a better idea of, okay, we need to push more water through here on a different kind of cycle. I'm used to the system. I can dial into that system. I went and looked at the different settings that are there. And from my understanding, there hasn't been a setting change in that system since whenever, don't know. I mean, the count's up to 99,999 hours. And so they're all in that range. So it does do a system change based on other things, but I'm getting into the weeds. There's things that can be done and modifications that we can experiment with. Just like I feel like the blowers were a good idea, but it really comes down to Is it the right kind of bubbles in there? Were the diffusers the right kind of diffusers chosen to be put in there to do the job that it's supposed to be doing? So yeah, we can run down a bunch of rabbit trails. Don't know the first thing that I would do, but I would get the data, review it, and start making a list of things that we're going to go in and understand and move through the process. It's a hard decision, especially for the homeowners and the costs that you guys have invested in this over the years. And I do not want to waste your money. I work hard for mine and I don't want to waste anyone else's. So if the board chooses to do this, you'll have someone that's going to work hard for you. And I'll be the first one to say that this is done. It needs to be changed out, and we'll start figuring out the most economical way and approach to move forward. I don't know what else to say. It's a good challenge, but at the same time, I want to make.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
I think I guess just to be open, any other comments? Stacy, I get the feeling that you're maybe okay with this approach. I mean, you're not in the grand scheme of things, but you know,
Man.
from what I've heard, I'm, you know.
I'm Mary Beth Patterson, 190 Oakwood Lane.
Hi.
Two things. You mentioned there's 57 homes
Okay.
that are on sewer. I made a telephone call this morning because of this meeting, and for other people that live on the other side of Aslaya of the office, is that for all of Bear Creek Estates? Bear Creek Estates is Deerwood, Forest Hill, loops this way, then you go up to Fernwood, and then across to Greenview. That's all of Bear Creek Estates. So, and I don't know if mailers went to all of those people, because there's a lot more than 57.
It went to the customers of the sewer system.
Fine. Yeah, that's 57. One more thing I just wanted to say about the last meeting and the 2020 time that you were gonna do some looking at. My recollection is there were 3 companies that were proposing. And there was a meeting, it was a pretty good sized meeting of the 57 of us that came to it, and we voted on one company. 2 companies I don't recall didn't show up. There was a woman who ran the 3rd company. We loved her presentation. We loved what she had to say. I think there were some, I don't know, verbal or written statements from the other 2 companies. We voted for this one company. And what was to be done was putting septic tanks with a partial fluid flow down to the regular sewer, just the fluid, and the solid waste would go into a septic tank at our homes someplace, and then we would have to pump that out. And whatever happened to that, because we did vote for this person, and there was a problem about money. I'm not recalling whether it was 14 grand or whether it was 30 grand or something or other, and most people could not handle 30 grand, and they were going to look for financing to help us. Never heard anything about it. Since then, nothing. That was pre-COVID.
Okay.
I don't really.
Okay. So, yeah. So I'm the only one that was on the board at the time. Yeah. And I can tell you COVID basically just shut everything down in this area, that and the fire. This is basically the first that the district and the board have been able to get back to it. The system you're talking about is, I think, called a STEP system. Solid
Liquid only.
septic tank, effluent, whatever. Basically, you have a septic tank at each house and just only the liquid goes to the central location. Right now, you're sending solids and liquid to the central location. I don't know that the district actually made a commitment to that. That certainly would be one of the possible alternatives. But the district did not make a commitment to actually do that implementation or try to sell it to you guys to do the implementation. I think it was one of the options that was being looked at.
It reduces the solids going through the system, but it also starves your treatment system, and it doesn't give enough carbon to the system, and you almost have to redesign your primary treatment system to take the look. You'd have to re-examine the influent and design a different kind of treatment because it's going to be lower on carbon and not have enough food to do the processing that's necessary.
Yeah, and that would be part of the whole thing. Yeah, the town I grew up in actually has a step system, so I'm somewhat familiar with it. And the central processing is completely different from what you guys have today.
Good to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Okay, any other comments from the board? I think this has been very, very, very helpful. Terry, thank you so much for your time and insights.
Thank you for allowing me to come, and I hope whatever you guys decide, I want the best for the system and for the environment. So thanks for the opportunity to allow me to speak tonight. Appreciate it. And thanks for the opportunity to be here and see how this works.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Terry.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch the sausage being made.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I think, generator, right, okay. All right, Jesse, you're up again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would it be appropriate to
Amanda.
describe the
Thank you.
process of the community members about decisions and stuff like that? Like,
Sure.
yeah.
You want,
Well, that'll,
do you,
I don't really
doing
know.
that at the board meeting.
yeah, I'm assuming that
There's no motion.
there's no motion, right, yeah, at this point, but,
So this is information gathering,
Thank
community
you.
input,
yeah.
and decisions will happen at a future date.
I do want to discuss the possible replacement of the generator. If you guys want to stick around for that, it'll be a lot shorter than what we got through, I promise.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah, hopefully, not too far in the distant future, the board would consider the contract for essential operations and discuss it at that point. And of course, you'd be welcome to come back and you might have some further questions or comments.
I'll most likely be at the, it's going to be the 29th, the 29th, the meeting on the 29th. Oh, excuse me, 29th.
No, not the
February 5th.
5th.
February 5th. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
February 5th.
Yes. Okay. All right, Jesse.
I want to discuss the generator. The current Bear Creek Estates generator located on Forest Hill Drive was placed into service in 1985. This generator is critical as it provides backup power to both the Bear Creek Booster Pump Station, which supplies potable water to our Bear Creek storage tank and distribution system, but also the Bear Creek Estates wastewater pneumatic lift station and transfer pump station. These wastewater facilities convey flow from the collection system to the wastewater treatment plant. An extended power outage at either location would likely result in a wastewater overflow, making this one of the most critical generators in the district system. Due to ongoing mechanical issues, age, and overall condition, our generator technician has recommended a full replacement. While it may be possible to extend the unit's life through repairs, this would be a short-term solution. In addition, replacement parts for this unit are obsolete, making them increasingly expensive and difficult to procure. Because the generator serves both drinking water and the wastewater system, project costs will be split accordingly. 66% will be funded through the district's general funds and 34% through the wastewater fund. This allocation is based on a percentage of drinking water versus wastewater connection service. This project is included in the approved 2026 capital improvement budget. Staff is currently obtaining multiple quotes and plans to bring a recommended proposal to the board for approval in a near future meeting. All Bear Creek Estates wastewater customers will be notified via email once a quote is selected and the item is scheduled for board consideration at a future meeting.
Can you just give us some, what's the size of this pump? I mean,
It's a 45 kW generator.
wow, so what's 60 horse?
I think some around there.
That's big.
So you said that you don't want to put a cost out,
I don't.
But we can look up one pretty quickly.
but we've purchased other generators recently.
I will say this generator has some additional cost with installation being indoors and that it's up on a hillside. It's going to be difficult talking to the contractors.
Okay,
It's going to be
Okay.
more than just your sticker price of a generator.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then I'm not gonna ask.
Okay, so 45 kW. And is it variable? I mean, is its output variable or is it like on or off?
That's a great question. It is variable. The newer ones, yeah.
Because the newer ones are
Yeah,
should be completely variable.
They are, yeah,
and, they're highly efficient, right? This one I imagine is 40 years old. It's maybe, I don't know, 75% efficient. Who knows?
It's got really high tech interface on it though.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like it.
85.
Okay, well, pretty good lifetime, 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, we got our money out of it.
We do maintain our generators pretty well, and our generator technician that has worked for us for probably over 20 years. You know, I trust his judgment, and he's had this on his radar for a while.
Okay.
Is there a particular brand that you either support or would reject if someone were to
I would defer to our electrician technician, but he's a Cummins most likely.
Cummins? Yeah. Well, I mean, can't go wrong with Cummins.
Okay.
Great. And when do you expect to go out for bids?
We actually have already received 2 quotes. We're waiting for that third final quote. It's been a little difficult to receive, but we expect to have it here in the next probably the next couple of weeks. I don't know if I'll be able to bring it to that February 5th meeting, but if not that meeting, most likely the next one.
Okay, that's great.
Did you say that provided power to the plant itself?
It doesn't provide power to the plant. The plant has its own Generac on demand, relatively pretty new generator out there as well. This one provides power to it's the pneumatic lift station and the pump station off Forest Hill.
Okay.
Okay.
That's very good.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions or comments,
I just wanted to bring it to the customer's attention because it is more of your guys' funds that will have to be dedicated infrastructure. But I do feel that keeping this generator up and running is very critical to avoiding any type of overflow. Keeping the system pumping.
Sorry, I did have one other question. The fuel type, are you looking at diesel or?
Right now that one's running on diesel, but we're looking at converting over to propane.
Propane.
Oh,
It's up in the air right now, but I think we prefer to move over to propane.
Okay, and so your installation would include any kind of emergency propane deliveries as needed, et cetera?
We own our propane tanks, so it's on us to get those tanks filled in an emergency situation.
You mean you have a propane tank truck that you use?
Yeah, we have a contact. We have a contact that we use, and just this past storm a few weeks ago, we were able to get on the phone with them that morning.
No, I understand that. I just want to make sure that we had a delivery service for
Yes,
propane.
we do, yeah.
Emergency.
We're not.
On call. We don't do it, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
We have a lot of propane tanks out there that's one of the challenges actually during these storms.
Yeah.
Is lining up our delivery guy and making sure our guys are out there checking propane tank levels, and this one's at this level, we need to call.
Are those on SCADA or remotely
Propane levels
monitored?
aren't, no.
what's the capacity that we have there? Or would we be putting in new tanks or consolidating or what?
We've been putting in new tanks. Right now we have a diesel tank up there.
Okay.
I forget how many gallons it is, 60.
Okay. Do you have any estimate on how big of a propane tank you would need? Because that's gonna be big.
1 or 2 500-gallon tanks. Yeah, I'd like to go with the 2 500-gallon tanks. As we know, sometimes Bear Creek can get cut off, and the gasoil truck or propane tank might not be able to get out there. So, sorry, just blew that one. But we find that some propane tanks in our system will find we'll get in a tight situation where we need to get a truck out there quickly, and we wish we had bigger tanks out there. So I like to side on 2 instead of 1.
Yeah, I had done some propane generator sizing, and I want to say that, well, you could be easily going through,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 10 gallons, an hour, easy,
Oh, yeah,
easy.
definitely.
Yeah.
Even for home systems, you can be looking at $100 to $150 of propane a day.
A day, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, any power outage that would last over a day or even close to a day, we were already looking at getting a truck out there to fill it up.
right, okay. All right, very good. All right, any other thoughts or comments? All right. Thank Stacy.
So, a while back, around the year 2000, I think, there's some discussion about I think they call them the county service area, CSA 7, which is up on 236 currently. But that, they're talking about expanding that to be more of a 236 corridor wise system. Because a lot of people that are replacing their sewers because of the fire are having problems doing that, and we're thinking, well, that might be an option if they ever develop that system. And Rick Rogers had talked, or somebody in his organization, to talk to the county to see if they would include us in the discussion of that, to see if it would be possible that they could take over our system, or we could be part of that upgrade. You know, maybe we'd just be pumping our effluent that away instead of going to our plant. Any updates, discussion of any of that stuff?
Yeah, no, that's your silver bullet, really. I mean, if you guys could hook up to the Big Basin plant, that would be that is the best thing that can happen. Unfortunately, the county has made very little movement on that the last few years. We actually met with them on site at the facility. I want to say Rick was still here, so 3-4 years ago, you know, and they looked at everything and gave us some good answers, but at the end of the day, it was just kind of crickets after that. We've reached out to them multiple times in the last couple of years. I reached out to them about a month ago regarding what's the status of this project, and they said there has been no movement on it. So I think
10 to 15 years.
if we all put pressure on the county together, it may help. It's an expensive project, but I think it's a great project because, like you said, it captures all the homes. It would capture all the homes on Bear Creek, capture all the homes on 236, the businesses downtown, and that'd be a huge relief from the river. I mean,
So you know, in the 1970s, one of the biggest political issues was around growth, which is why we're a no growth community. And there were groups that were formed to oppose the creation of a sewer district in our community. Those people are still around, and we are still a no growth community. So I would say, Stacy, the odds of that happening in our lifetime are close to zero.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We're going to continue pushing for that,
but
I'm going to keep bothering the county for that.
Keep doing it.
I have to agree with Bob.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was, if we got our system to look another 10 years, is that even?
I don't anticipate it happening in 10 years, maybe 20, 30, 40 years.
I feel that when I retire, it'll be 10 to 15 years out.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, think of it this way, Stacy, it's going to be $500 to $600 a foot today to put in the pipe. You're looking at a mile and a quarter to town.
Yeah, we're talking about going up to
And you're talking about going all the way up.
Yeah.
That's it.
2.5 months.
Yeah, there's not enough money.
But the counties, as Jason said, when he retires, the county's still gonna be 15 years away. So.
I think
He's a young man.
grant funding as well.
I think it's the county's pipe dream at this point.
Yeah.
I think. And that's about all the further.
But you're correct, that project does exist.
And then the other thing I was wondering if I had mentioned earlier or not, that the homeowners all had like a $8,000 to $10,000 bond that we paid in '85.
Mhm.
You know, and paid for it for like 10 years or something like that to pay it off.
Mhm.
We paid for like about $500,000 worth of that second system.
Yeah, the wrinkles.
You mentioned that a good part of it was through a grant. But
Yeah,
we did a big part.
The construction of the treatment plant in 1985, 90% of that was grant funded The Renco trickling filters that were installed in the early 2000s, that was not grant. That was paid by. the
Right.
government. No.
But the $8,000, I'm talking about was with that in 1980.
It was for 85. I'm not sure where that was.
We pay our taxes every year, the property taxes.
Okay, that must have been related to the other 10% charge that the project needed.
Yeah,
It was only
the
$90.
$1 million had a 10% match, so I'm assuming 100,000 was the assessment.
Well, what I'm saying is we spent 5 taxes.
That's,
Yeah, in total.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Well,
And in today's dollar, that's $1 million plus.
Yeah.
So that's real money.
It would be two.
All right, let's just run through very quickly. There's no consent agendas, no written communications, no informational material. So I move that we adjourn. Thank you all very much for your time.
Follow through. Okay.